Journalists really need to be thinking about telling stories rather than writing a news report. So sometimes it is appropriate to do a 500-word story, many times it is, or even a 5,000-word story. But if you've got, say, a numbers-based report, then chances are you can get away with a smaller story that's just the comment on it, or people commenting on it, and then you can have a graphic or a series of numbers. We saw this when I joined Fairfax about 6 years ago. You'd be going to do a graphic and they'd send you 3 numbers and they just expect you to do something with the numbers. Nowadays they'll send us a spreadsheet and we will analyse the spreadsheet, and then we will do fever charts. We will do whatever we need to do with them because it's more sophisticated than it was in the past. We need to do more than we did in the past. You saw coming out of the States, probably 10 years ago now, whole series of print charticles, and charticles are the sort of precursor to the BuzzFeed type 10 best of stories. And so you'd get one on a birds or birds in the local area, and it'd be a photo of the bird and a little blurb, photo of a bird, little blurb, and it was very much a visual presentation of the news. You still got the endangered birds or whatever into the story, and you might have another piece on the side, but it's really thinking about the best way to package everything to get the most impact. And I am a journalist. I started as a reporter, became a sub-editor, then moved into design. And I think the reason I love what I do is because I do treat everything as a story, whether it's a graphic or an illustration. We're just looking for the best way to tell stories, and often it's not the stories, not word-based stories. A good example of that is Conrad Walters and Peter Borbet, who are in the Herald newsroom here, got hold of data and put together data over a series of months. Every single asylum seeker boat that has landed since 1994. And so you can start to put that into spreadsheets, you can start to see patterns. You can't see it in the numbers, you've got to create charts to see the patterns. And then we were able to build a interactive tool where you could go through and you could see, okay, well, how many children came this time, how many boats capsized. And so we ended up with a quite immersive interactive tool where you can spend quite a bit of time looking at the data and working through it. You probably don't see any numbers in it at all, it's all graphical. And off that we wrote a couple of stories, but the net result of that investigation was a graphic rather than a 2,000-word piece in a news review or something like that.
As we become a more literate society, readers, I think, expect more from our publications and whether they're online or in print. And this visual sort of fluency leads them to want these sorts of information graphics as a new way to see their world around them and to understand it. The engagement as we measure it in some of our different statistical programs show that this really lifts engagement. People want to understand these stories, and this gives them the ability to do that.
I think what we will see is that newspapers, websites will be, well, newspapers in particular will be increasingly formatted and templated, just as websites are now. And then you will have your breakout elements. So sometimes, like we did with, there was a series that Peter Hartcher did on the downfall of the Labour government, and we really went to town on the design. We created a microsite for it, and it was just beautiful. We did another one a couple of weeks ago on post-traumatic stress out of a big investigation that came out of Canberra. Really go to town on the design and make it absolutely fantastic, and we do that for print as well.
Lately, in the last couple of years, we've been playing with a lot more interactive graphics that we prepare, and then we can just fill in the data. And up on the screen comes these amazing graphics that can actually tell a very complicated and, let's be honest, quite boring one-dimensional economic story and brings it to life. And we tell it in different ways. And that's why I'm just saying it's imperative and it's critical right now that we create a culture within our organisations and within the media industry so that people are not just unafraid to innovate, but are trying to do it every day that they're in the office.
I would hope that journalism schools aren't still turning out people who aim to be a political correspondent and write the 1,200-word opus every weekend. I think those days are gone. I think we see that in our research, that no one's reading those 1,200 word pieces and probably never were.